This is a demo of how to navigate through the projects database. So when you first open the database, you're going to land on the projects homepage, and that's a list of all the projects in your database. So if we click on a project, it'll bring us into the view page, and from here I can open this up, but I can't edit it. So if I want to go to the editable page, I click on the edit button. It brings me to a similar layout, and here I can actually edit the data. So from the project level, we'll go down to the attraction level by clicking on the side here, and that gives us a list of attractions that are in that project. So one thing to note from here, if I click on this project name, it'll bring me back up to that project. I'll do that. And if I come back in here and click on the projects here, it brings me to the table. I got to go back into that part. So these are basically for the tables, and once we get down to the attraction label or a level, we'll notice we've got a lot more buttons, because now we've got access to all the data that's tied into that particular attraction. So from here, let's take a look into a couple more things. You know, these pads, you can resize them, but you can also scroll from object to object. I don't have objects in most of these, or drawings in most of these, but you get the idea. It's the same with these. I call them pads because I think of them like pads of paper, where you can make them bigger. You can also scroll down if you've got multiple pages on there, and you can scroll back and forth between them to check your data and make sure it's the same. We'll look at that again on on elements where we know we've got more information. So let's go down to scenes. These are all the scenes within that attraction. If I pick a scene, I've got the same type of thing where I can scroll from one to the next, and I don't have any information in here either. But notice now we're on the view scene. So if on the view scene, I can pull up all the elements within the area or the scene. I'm going to use the back button, or I can just click on one and go to that one, and I can click on this scene button right here to go back to that scene. So when I get into the edit side, I've still got the full list, but if I click into one of these, it doesn't go to that element. This allows me to block out. Basically, I'll start putting information in here to block out my scene, and a lot of times I'll pull up one of these on the side and look at that while I'm over here going, okay, I'm going to need one of these, I'm going to need a waterfall, I'm going to need a smoke machine, whatever. So once I have it blocked out, then I'll go to the full list, and then I'll start detailing it out from here. You know, here's the one I just created. It's got no information in it, but it is tied to that scene. If I want to move it to another scene, I can click there and pick another scene. You know, sometimes the edges of your scenes get redefined, so you're not really changing equipment or location, you're just redefining which scene it's in. So it's easy to do that. Also, you can make a duplicate. Say you have a smoke system that you want to use in two scenes. You just duplicate the element and put one in one scene and one in the other scene. So let's get down into elements here. I want to pick out from the home screen. I'm going to pick out one that I know has data in it. Here's one with a lot of data. So right now we're on the view screen. Let's go into the edit scene or screen. Here again, I can pull up a pad, and then I can move back and forth between these and compare text, so I can see that all my text for all the elements is roughly in the same format. Also, I have these tables down here, and you'll notice the function list, functions are shown here, equipment is shown here. So if I click on this, it'll bring up all the equipment in the attraction. It takes out the stuff that's been archived. You can pull that back up if you want to, but for this point, we're not going to. So that gives me all the equipment in the attraction, or I can go here to the equipment list. and I can pull up whatever that list is, or I can just pull up, let's see, go back to equipment list, we'll just pull up this equipment. So if I want to work with a small list and detail this out more, and it's a little easier to work with groups of records like this. And that's pretty much the same with all these. We just did that one. Facility impact is a little bit different because you break it into different areas, but it's the same. You do have a table for each one of these as well. Drawings, it pulls up information on drawings. I don't really have any details in here, but and the same for shipping. So if I pull up a shipping list, it takes us to the shipping area where I can put all my notes in there. So let's go back to elements. And we're going to go back to, let's see, chainsaw bungee. Little frog in my throat there. Edit. So if we want to move from here to the full list, we can click on this. If we want to move to the scene, we can click on here. If we want to move back to the attraction, we can click on here. If we want to move from, just pull up technical requirements and move back and forth, we can do it from there. Or the creative description, we can do it from there. And the same with drawings. But, you know, for drawings, you typically don't need to do that. You're just putting in something that represents your element. It's the same for these lists on the side here. So it allows you to work with these however you need to work with them in the most efficient fashion. And I think that gives you a pretty good overview. There's a couple of these where I don't have the buttons on the side because I'm kind of out of room and I'm working on a cure for that. So for tasks, for example, you actually have to go to either fabrication, installation, or closeout and say list these, and then it'll bring up all the tasks. So that concludes your basic navigation through this. Thank you.